I did not expect to like this show when I started watching it. I committed to watching at least the first few episodes because it stars two actors I like very much, but the summary provided did not inspire a lot of confidence. Now, I have not seen every show ever made. It may be there have always been really good stories using the amnesia trope that I just never knew about. But in my prior experience, it was mostly a way for authors to nominally have a strong lead character, only to make them weak for most of the plot. In the best case scenario I knew of, the affected character was still passive for most of the story, just in a not annoying way. Suffice to say, it is one of the few tropes which I actively avoid when I see it in a plot summary. Additionally, the introduction inspired even less confidence. It usually doesn't go well when a magical element is mixed into what is otherwise a historical fantasy, aside from something like debunked medicine working for plot reasons. After the first episode, I was left with the distinct impression of a show that would try to satisfy too many tastes and end up satisfying no one. But there were two more free episodes, and one of my favorite actors hadn't appeared yet, so I felt obliged to keep watching, even though my hopes for the plot were not high. It did at least have good actors in the lead roles, and the villain was magnificently evil. Also, unusually for a historical drama, it was visually stunning. Episode 2 starts the amnesia plot, with the main character narrowly escaping death. It's at least a very dramatic scene and fun, probably one of the better rendered scenes of a seemingly loyal subordinate committing a sudden betrayal. It ends with a dreamlike sequence that allows us an insight into the main character's mind as well. Like the BBC's Sherlock Holmes, Lu Jianglai's imagination is vivid and his mind almost preternaturally organized. This gives us the understanding of how he has accomplished the kind of complex schemes we've seen him undertake already. We're in the Yuan dynasty here. We can see this immediately from the fashions worn by the female lead. Indeed, we seem to be at the end of it, when the vast empire of Kublai Khan is crumbling from within. Perhaps the early days of Togon Temur's reign. The name of the emperor is never mentioned here, but Lu Jianglai is confirmed to have been sent by him personally, and the mention of the Empress Dowager makes it likely we are in the very early years of his reign. Our date is therefore probably somewhere between 1333 and 1353. For some context, the renowned poet Petrarch was at the height of his career during this time, and while it might be hyperbolic to credit him with starting the Italian Renaissance, that movement was certainly beginning during this time period. Indeed, Rong Shambao seems to be a character cut from similar cloth to another figure from that era, Pope Clement VI, who famously offered coronation gifts not to family members and sycophants, but to impoverished clergy who came to see him. In a world where people of high status expect preferential treatment and immunity from investigation, even if they do little or nothing to benefit society, she deals with everyone strictly based on their merits. Lu Jianglai, too, fits into the mold of a Renaissance man well. Not only is he a multi-talented and worldly scholar, but his quest for justice for the common man and spiritual purity echoes the concerns of his age. This time period was chosen not for aesthetics, nor purely for authorial favoritism, but because its main characters are at home in it. Indeed, it likely has an even deeper significance. This time period could plausibly be called the conception of our modern world order, a world order that is now crumbling from within as it faces threats it is unable to withstand. The 1330s, too, witnessed destabilizing mass migrations caused by climate change, economically devastating pandemics, and the rise of apocalyptic hysterias which consumed previously powerful empires. Now, as the horsemen of the apocalypse ride again, a meditation on the concept of the world, on this conception of the world we all know is particularly relevant. On the tea plantations of the Rong family, we can see the optimistic dreams for a new world being nurtured. iQiyi is a woman of her age, a straight-talking expert in her field like the real-life abbesses and businesswomen who flourished in this era. Men and women from many places and all backgrounds work together, sheltered by the power of Rongshangbao and the sanctuary of the heavily guarded mountain. Yet, in Shanbao's suitors, we can also see the dark side of these dreams. The fear-motivated depravity of the aristocratic Yang family, the greed of the bourgeois He family, the intellectual naivete of Bai Jingting, the star-eyed crusader dreams of Mr. Wen, and Mr. Yan's deceptive spirituality. Side note, the casting of Asher Ma, famous for his role as cinnamon roll Cao Weining for Mr. Wen, is truly brilliant. Grandmother Wrong is trapped in medieval thinking, which classifies all beings at inviolable ranks based on inherent traits, much to the detriment of her disabled granddaughters, Yunshu and Yunwan. Indeed, shockingly for a Chinese drama, this one gives Yunshu and Yunwan major roles and makes them complex characters. Yunshu is an outcast because her mother married out of the family against the grandmother's wishes. She becomes duplicitous because she won't be accepted by her elders. Yunwan is a secret, hidden from the outside world because her grandmother is embarrassed she exists. Her developmental disability means she is honest, a strength that Lu Jianglai immediately realizes and puts to use, but others constantly underestimate what she is capable of doing because there are so many things she can't do. Indeed, it is rather poetic that Rong Yunshu, who is a foil to Lu Jianglai, has a sight impairment, and Lu Jianglai is played by a legally blind actor. The history of disabled characters in Chinese drama is checkered, to say the least. Far too often, they are either sacrificed for the hero or set up as inherently evil villains. While this is a problem that did not start with screenwriters, they also generally don't do enough to question and complicate these portrayals, failing to live up to the ideals they preach through these dramas. Not this time. This time, the script is exactly what you would expect from a creative team that firmly believes in equality, meritocracy, and the inherent dignity of human life. There's nothing to criticize here. Not only are the main characters given a complexity and depth which truly challenge the main actors, but the side characters are complex and fun to watch as well. The tired tropes of the genre are avoided. Mr. Yan is not so much obsessed with the female lead as with Grandmother Wrong's favor. The second female lead, Rong Yunxi, is secretly married to a man outside the family and has basically no contact with Mr. Yan, a refreshing change from the usual brainlessly obsessed second female leads. The villains, Prefect Su and his uncle the governor, are utterly despicable. Indeed, the drama daringly shows skeletal corpses, usually a taboo in Chinese dramas. They literally feed on the people, imprison righteous ministers, torture the innocent, and protect powerful criminals. And just as the drama prioritizes internal consistency over genre conventions, so it prioritizes consistency over trope conventions in the case of the plot. When Lu Jianglai forgets his name and biography, he does not forget how to live in the world or become a completely different person. His judgment doesn't suffer because he no longer remembers that he schemed to get into the wrong mansion. Even before Shanbao herself realizes that her grandmother is not to be trusted, Lu Jianglai has noticed this. The only sensible thing for him to do in his situation is to indenture himself. He would be in extreme danger if he left, and he has no assets to give. But rather than indenture himself to the family, he gives his contract to Shanbao in secret. He schemes to defeat all her suitors after hearing from her that she is frustrated by the necessity of picking between them. Initially, anyway, he isn't doing it for himself. Although he clearly finds her attractive, he is not the kind of person who falls in love easily. He truly believes that she should have the right to remain unmarried if none of the available men are good enough for her. You might say that seems like a very modern idea. But a story first recorded during this time period contains this idea as its main theme. Sir Gawain is a familiar character to most readers from the later legends of King Arthur, but he actually predates Geoffrey of Monmouth and Le Morte d'Arthur. Sir Gawain in The Green Knight is likely a very old story, but the part relevant here is probably an addition made by the 12th century scribe. While Sir Gawain is a guest of Lord and Lady Ragnell, the lady seduces him each night. At first he is scandalized, but the Lord explains the next morning that he is aware of what his wife is up to, and only asks that everything given to her also gets given to him. Yes, one of the versions of this is very homoerotic. Later, when he meets the Green Knight, the question is posed to him, what do women want? Sir Gawain answers, the freedom to choose. Rong Shanbao comes to see Lu Jianglai as a true partner, which he doesn't recognize at first, but he also doesn't lose his self-respect just because he doesn't know his real identity. When she wants him to risk his life for her, he quite correctly insists he will only do so in exchange for her hand. At first, this is a matter of equivalent exchange, but soon he has to admit to himself that he is indeed in love with her. Yet, although he is deeply and helplessly in love, he is willing to risk his relationship for justice. Of course, Rong Shanbao also is willing to sacrifice their relationship for the sake of justice. She also respects herself, however, and is not pleased that he manipulated her. But as they share the same values and goals, they do work it out. Which brings me to the second reason this show makes the amnesia trope work. Lu Jianglai's memories start to return by the end of episode 3. He sees the ring he wore as an official and gets a brief flashback. He can't quite make sense of it yet, but he knows now that the ring has something to do with his past. Gradually, as he sees more things familiar in his old life, more memories come back, and he pieces them together quickly. Then, when his former subordinate shows up, all is revealed. The plot doesn't use his lack of memory as a way to artificially generate tension. It doesn't need to. The criminal plots that Lu Jianglai is trying to solve before the criminals kill him are tense enough, as is the Rong family drama. Rong Shanbao and Lu Jianglai are playing chess with their own lives and the Rong family legacy as stakes, and nothing this exciting has been on television since Game of Thrones. Rather, the amnesia is used here to force an otherwise single-minded character to lose track of his mission, allowing the romance plot to develop. Had Lu Jianglai remembered who he was when he entered the Rong mansion, he could never have ended up marrying Shanbao, as he would have been intentionally seducing her for his own purposes. Instead, she falls for him because of his virtue. Thus, when his identity is revealed, although she is angered that he intended deception, no actual deception has occurred. He has honestly fallen for her, not seduced her as part of a scheme. She has honestly fallen for him, knowing that what she saw during the time he couldn't remember was sincere. The amnesia plotline is done with quickly, despite its prominent place in the summary. Indeed, almost everything about this drama how this drama was presented is deceptive. The English title, Glory, is unsearchable. Not only is there another C-drama with a similar name, but there is, of course, a very famous American movie by that name. Not to mention quite a few songs with that word in the title. Apparently the Chinese title is also difficult to search, and both are somewhat mysterious. The Chinese title literally translates to something like Bright Jade T-Bone. Both parts of the title are metaphors, bright jade meaning something worthy of the imperial family, and T-Bone meaning a heritable instinct for tea. Glory refers to what the characters surrounding the leads all want, but of course, in their chasing of it, they will fail to find it. There's no way they could not have known about the movie Glory, and I think the comparison is actually intentional, because the main character's arc in that movie is all about learning that glory is a state of mind. It's the shift in perspective that happens when one is focused on the common good, such that the fear of individual loss disappears, not because such losses do not occur, but because they are no longer something to be feared. If what you have does not define you, you do not fear losing your property. If what others say about you does not define you, then you do not fear defamation. Rong Shanbao is defined by how she treats those who depend on her, not by what she has gained as a result. Lu Jianglai is defined by his actions, not by what is said of him. They fall for each other because they are both operating on a higher wavelength than the people surrounding them.